Hey, what's up? Hey, how you doing? I don't know, but what the main question is, what are you doing this Atticus Hour on Monday? Because I felt like it, and I forgot to do it in the morning of Sunday. Sunday was so busy for us, and we couldn't do it in the evening. I was low energy, and the Tonys were on. Oh, really? How did it go? Let's just go with my Atticus Hour, okay? Atticus Hour number 6. Welcome back. So I'm going to talk about 3 other United States presidents. Okay, here we go. Our 5th president was James Monroe, this guy right here. And his hair is a little cuckoo, but let's just get on to his presidency and stuff. So, first of all, this guy had been numerous things. He had served in the Revolutionary War with George Washington. He had been Secretary of War and Secretary of State under James Madison. He had been fighting in the Battle of Trenton in the Revolutionary War and was shot in the shoulder. The bullet was not removed at all. It was literally right here or right here. But anyways, yeah, he was a lot of things. And when he ran in the election of 1816, he became president. And at the time, a lot of people were happy that Monroe was an honest guy. Everybody loved him at the time, and they actually called it the era of good feelings. It was a really good time for everybody, and they were feeling really, really great. But when in 1819, it turned out to be the era of bad feelings, because so many people were getting money and they didn't have the money to pay it back. So a lot of people lost their jobs and homes and money, and it turned to almost a national beach party without the beach balls to a depression. But it wasn't over, as Monroe was re-elected in 1820 unopposed. He got every single electoral vote except one, which a man voted to incumbent John Quincy Adams, because first of all, he said that he thought that George Washington should be the only president to be elected unanimously, and that he just simply said that he didn't like Monroe. But then in 1820, a crisis rolled in, as a lot of presidents had crises in their terms. This crisis was the Missouri Compromise of 1820. It said that if a slave state came into the Union, a free state would have to follow it. And so, what was that? Never mind. Missouri was added in the Union as a slave state, while Maine was added into the Union as a free state, keeping the amount of slave states and free states in the Union equal by 14. Then, in 1823, before I get into that, a lot of things were going on at the time Monroe was president. Europe was trying to colonize America, and simply these bad things that Europe was doing. So in 1823, Monroe did not write this. Instead, of Secretary of State John Quincy Adams did. He wrote the Monroe Doctrine. John Quincy Adams did. If that's a little confusing, deal with it. But anyways, after all, it's not called the John Quincy Adams Doctrine, is it? So, what it really meant was that no European colonization could be used in America or in the northern or southern hemispheres. Now, Monroe doctrine definitely worked. Now, if we date back to 1823 and 1824 when this doctrine was first heard of, I would be calling it Monroe's greatest moment, because it wasn't until the 1850s when it was actually called the Monroe Doctrine. That's informative. Very informative. Very informative. Anyway, so that's basically when Monroe did as president, and it was simply a good presidency to a lot of people, including that Monroe was usually ranked in the OKs if somebody did a ranking of the presidents. That's where I would put him. But anyways, that is it for James Monroe. I just want to get right quickly through this. I don't want this to be like a more than a 15-minute video, because that's what my last two videos were, and I don't want to have trouble uploading this video. So this is Andrew Johnson. Like, the most racist president we've ever had. He called blacks savages. He said that they should just go back to the plantation and leave the jobs for whites. Really bad things that he said about blacks. But anyways, it was the first election in which blacks would vote, I think. Or was it till Ulysses Grant? I don't know. It was somewhere around Andrew Johnson and Ulysses Grant. Sure, you don't know about Ulysses Grant, but you're going to learn about him very soon in another Atticus Hour. But anyways, so Johnson actually didn't, that's the timer, sorry. Johnson assumed the office after Abraham Lincoln's assassination at Ford's Theater, April 14th, 1865. And since he died of his wounds the following morning, Andrew Johnson assumed the office. There's a story I want to tell you about this. The Speaker of the House of Representatives probably would have been the 17th president if it wasn't for this story. So after the assassination, John Wilkes Booth tried to, actually knew where the vice president might be spending the night. He sent a clerk to go to Johnson's suite at the Kirkwood boarding house. Now this is where the climax begins to grow. So if the plan had gone according to plan, after Johnson had read a book and went to bed, he would be awakened by a knock at the door, at which point, if he opened it and said, "What? Hello," a knife would have been plunged into his heart. Now, don't worry, this did not happen, because the clerk that John Wilkes Booth sent, John Wilkes Booth did a pretty nasty idea. He should have known that the guy had been drinking and thought, "Oh, this is too scary. I don't want to do this. I'm just going to go away." Yeah, so Johnson was spared. Now, nothing really happened into his presidency, though 1866 is when times began to grow. Johnson disagreed in civil rights, like Andrew Jackson. Andrew Johnson, Andrew Jackson, might get these two men confused. They basically agreed and disagreed the same things. They disagreed civil rights, both of them. And surprisingly, Johnson made more vetoes than Jackson, beating him 29-12. Most of these vetoes, they were illegal. Once the law was passed that slavery was illegal, Johnson was illegally vetoing bills that opposed the issue of slavery. And because of this, Congress didn't know what to do. The House of Representatives didn't know what to do. But then they thought it was their turn to make history. Then it was their turn to finally put Johnson on trial And Johnson became the first president to be impeached. Now, I talked about Bill Clinton last Atticus Hour. He was impeached too. Now we go to Andrew Johnson. He was the first president to be impeached. These are the only two presidents to have been impeached. It may change. I don't know. I really don't know. But anyway, though Johnson, like Clinton, was found not guilty and was put back into the office by one vote by the Senate. He served the rest of his term quietly and smoothly like Clinton did and left office in 1868 and became part of the Senate. Okay, let's go quickly. Last U.S. president we're going to learn about today, Herbert Hoover. Now, maybe you don't know this guy, maybe you do, doesn't matter, you're going to learn about him anyway. So, Herbert Hoover had been orphaned at age 9, which is sad, but became a millionaire at around age 35. How has he managed to do that? He's an orphan and lives with his uncle when he's around 9 and 10 years old, and then later becomes a millionaire. I don't understand presidents sometimes, I really don't. I really don't. Anyways, so his presidencies. He was known as the great humanitarian, but let's get on to his presidency. I don't want to waste any more time. So, Hoover was president during the Great Depression, and it all started because of the stock market crash of 1929. People lost their money, jobs, homes, just like the Depression of 1819 with James Monroe. Now, this was much worse though. People would go to soup kitchens, wait in line, it was all these commotions, and later when he ran the campaign of 1932 to win re-election, it was no hope. In fact, the name Hoover became a complete punchline. For example, a Hoover shack was a cardboard house. Was a cardboard shack, I should say. A Hooverville was a whole village of cardboard shacks. A Hoover flag was an empty pocket turned inside out. I could show one to you right now, but I don't want to waste time. So, anyway, when he ran to the campaign of 1932 to win re-election, this little-known guy from New York, Democrat Franklin D. Roosevelt, says, "I've heard about Hoover and all the bad things he's done. This elects me." So he ran for the Democratic Party and beat Hoover in a complete landslide, and I think you know why. Why would you think electors would want to vote for a president who did absolutely nothing to stop a depression? Would you do that? I don't think so. But anyway, that is it for today. I hope this video was not too long. So, thank you, and I'll be back with the Atticus Hour number 7, which will be held on June 18th, the day right after my birthday party. And maybe I can tell you a little bit about it before I get started into the Atticus Hour number 7. Thanks for watching.